Sunday evening, 25th of January, summer is well and truly here, and the weather across Australia is painting quite a picture. From tropical heat up north to pleasant conditions down south, the contrast couldn't be more striking. Let's get straight into it. I've been looking at the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, and there's a fair bit to cover for this evening and the days ahead. Right now, we are seeing typical late January patterns, but with some interesting variations region to region. The temperature spread across the country is significant. Darwin S sitting at 33 degrees with humidity that makes it feel even worse. Meanwhile, Hobart S barely cracking 20 degrees during the day. That is the kind of contrast you expect across this wide brown land, but it is worth understanding what is driving these conditions and where they are heading. The key player this evening is a ridge of high pressure sitting over much of the eastern seaboard. That is keeping things relatively settled across New South Wales and Victoria, though we're seeing moisture being drawn in from the Tasman Sea. Further north, the monsoon trough is active across the top end, and that S pumping tropical moisture into northern Australia. Out west, Perth S benefiting from that classic Mediterranean pattern, dry and sunny with a sea breeze keeping things comfortable. Let's break this down state by state because the differences matter, and what you are experiencing right now varies dramatically depending on where you are. Starting with Sydney and New South Wales, if you're in Sydney this evening, you're looking at temperatures around 19 to 20 degrees. Daytime maximums reach 24 to 26 degrees, which is fairly comfortable for this time of year. But here is what you need to know. This January S tracking wetter than average, significantly wetter. Sydney typically sees 94 millimetres of rain spread across about 27 days in January. We're well on track to match or exceed that. The evening has a fairly high chance of scattered showers. Not heavy, persistent rain, but those typical summer showers that blow through, drop a few millimetres, then clear out. The moisture S coming off the Tasman Sea. That easterly flow is bringing humid air on shore, and when you combine that with afternoon heating and the sea breeze convergence, you get shower development. Nothing severe, but enough that you're to be wise to keep a brolly handy if you are heading out this evening. Wind speeds in Sydney are sitting around 25 kilometres per hour. That's fairly brisk, particularly along the coastal strip. Not dangerous, but creating blustery conditions. If you're remoored at one of the harbours or planning any water activities, be aware of those conditions. Sea temperatures around Sydney are pleasant, 21 to 22 degrees. If you're keen for a swim, it's not bad at all. Across the rest of New South Wales, similar story. Newcastle S seeing daytime highs around 25 to 27 degrees. Evening temperatures 19 to 20 degrees. Wollongong, Parramatta, right through to Coffs Harbour, all experiencing typical summer weather with the chance of afternoon and evening showers and isolated storms. The central west and western regions of New South Wales are drier. That high pressure ridge is keeping most of the moisture to the coast. Inland areas are warm and mostly clear, but that S where you'll see the biggest temperature drops overnight. Could get down to mid-teens in some of the western areas once the sun goes down, moving south to Victoria and Melbourne. Melbourne S running warmer than the long-term average. As of mid-January, the City S tracking about 0.2 degrees above the historical average. That doesn't sound like much, but when you're re-looking at extended periods, that slight warming trend is noticeable. This evening, Melbourne S forecast to reach daytime highs of 27 to 30 degrees. Could nudge close to that 30-degree mark in some suburbs. That S notably warmer than Sydney. But here S where Melbourne does what Melbourne does best. Come evening, temperatures drop sharply to around 15 degrees. That's a significant range. 15-degree temperature swing from day to night. You know what they say about Melbourne weather. 4 seasons in one day, and this evening S no exception. Warm during the day, potentially hot in some areas, then cooling off rapidly once the sun sets. There's also a chance of showers developing this evening. Melbourne S seeing moderate rainfall this month. January typically brings about 16 rainy days with total rainfall around 84 millimetres. We're retracking fairly normal for this time of year. Wind speeds are averaging 18 kilometres per hour. A bit gentler than Sydney, but still providing a pleasant breeze, particularly in exposed areas. If you're in Melbourne this evening, be prepared for changeable conditions. It's warm now, but by tonight you will want a jumper. And keep an eye on the radar. Showers can develop quickly, particularly with the temperature contrast we are seeing. Regional Victoria S experiencing similar patterns. Gippsland S seeing scattered showers. The Western District S warm and mostly dry. Up in the northeast, temperatures are pushing higher, getting into the low 30s in some areas. The Mallee S hot and dry, which is typical for this time of year. Heading north to Queensland and Brisbane. Brisbane S in its warmest period of the year. January S traditionally the hottest month, and this year S living up to that reputation. Daytime temperatures on the 25th are forecast to reach 28 to 29 degrees. Humidity S sitting at moderate to high levels. That S the key factor in Brisbane. It S not just the temperature, it S the moisture in the air. Makes it feel considerably warmer than the thermometer suggests. Come evening, temperatures remain quite warm at around 22 degrees. Unlike Sydney and Melbourne, Brisbane's subtropical climate means evening temperatures (DON-T) drop off as much. You're not getting that relief you see further south. What's particularly noteworthy about Brisbane this time of year is the afternoon and evening thunderstorm activity. January typically sees about 7 rainy days, but total rainfall can reach up to 210 millimetres. That S because when it rains in Brisbane during summer, it really rains. These aren't the gentle showers you get in Sydney. These are tropical thunderstorms. They blow in quickly, dump heavy rain in a short period, then clear out. But while they're re-happening, they can be quite intense. Lightning, heavy downpours, gusty winds. If you're in southeast Queensland this evening and you see a storm building, take it seriously. The Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, right through to areas like Toowoomba, all experiencing similar conditions. High temperatures, high humidity, and the likelihood of afternoon and evening storm development. Further north, Cairns and Townsville are well into the wet season pattern. Tropical thunderstorms are almost a daily occurrence. Far north Queensland S getting regular heavy rainfall, and that is typical for this time of year. Now let us head west to Perth and Western Australia. Perth S enjoying some of the best weather in the country right now. While the eastern cities are dealing with humidity and changeable conditions, Perth S benefiting from that Mediterranean climate pattern. The 25th of January in Perth is forecast to deliver brilliant sunshine, 11 to 12 hours of sun throughout the day. Daytime temperatures reaching 30 to 32 degrees. Now that S warm, but at one to feel too oppressive thanks to lower humidity levels. Evenings in Perth are quite pleasant, temperatures dropping to around 18 to 20 degrees. What is particularly notable is the lack of rain. Perth has very little chance of rain during January, only about 1 to 2 rainy days across the entire month. If you want dry, sunny summer weather, Perth is the place to be right now. The sea breeze in Perth is reliable, comes in most afternoons, providing natural cooling. That makes a big difference when you're re-dealing with temperatures in the low 30s. Across the rest of Western Australia, the southwest S seeing similar conditions. Dry, sunny, warm. Further north in the Pilbara and Kimberley, it's hot. Very hot. Some areas are pushing well into the high 30s, potentially into the low 40s, that S-harsh country at this time of year. Adelaide and South Australia. Adelaide S in the midst of summer with fairly favourable conditions. January S, the warmest month of the year. And the City S living up to that. Daytime temperatures on the 25th are forecast to reach 26 to 27 degrees. Evening lows around 17 to 18 degrees. These are fairly moderate temperatures, not as extreme as what you see in Central Australia or the far north. Adelaide sees very little rainfall during January, only about 2 rainy days with total rainfall around 33 millimetres. The dry, sunny weather makes it quite pleasant, similar to Perth but not quite as hot. The Fleurieu Peninsula, Adelaide Hills, Barossa, all experiencing typical summer conditions, warm days, mild evenings, low chance of rain. If you are planning outdoor activities in South Australia this weekend, conditions are favourable. Now down to Tasmania and Hobart. Due to its geographical position, Hobart has a more temperate climate compared to the mainland cities, and that is evident this evening. Temperatures in Hobart on the 25th range from 18 to 21 degrees during the day, around 12 to 14 degrees in the evening. These are the coolest temperatures of all Australia's capital cities. If you are in Tasmania and you've been watching the temperatures across the rest of the country, you are probably feeling pretty lucky right now. Hobart S also one of the driest cities during January. Only about 13 rainy days with total rainfall of 23 millimetres. The weather is quite pleasant and mild. Perfect for outdoor activities. The northwest coast, east coast, all experiencing similar conditions. It's actually ideal weather in Tasmania right now. Finally, let us talk about Darwin and the Northern Territory. Darwin S right in the middle of the tropical wet season, and it shows January S, the wettest month of the year in Darwin. 28 rainy days on average with total rainfall reaching up to 340 millimetres. That is the highest of all Australian cities. Rain typically appears as heavy tropical thunderstorms during the afternoon and evening. Temperatures in Darwin on the 25th are quite high, 31 to 33 degrees during the day, remaining at 24 to 25 degrees in the evening. Humidity S very high, typically above 80%. That creates quite sticky conditions. If you're in Darwin or the top end, you know what to expect this time of year. It's hot, it's humid, and the storms roll in most afternoons. That's the wet season. It's uncomfortable, but it's also essential. This is when the region gets the bulk of its annual rainfall. Catherine Newlanby, right across the top end. Similar story. Tropical heat, high humidity, afternoon and evening thunderstorms. Now for inland areas, Alice Springs, Uluru, the central desert regions. Conditions are harsh. Very harsh. Daytime temperatures could reach 35 to 40 degrees, potentially even higher in some locations. That is extreme heat. But due to the desert climate, evening temperatures will drop sharply, possibly down to 20 to 25 degrees. The desert at night is a different world from the desert during the day. Conditions are dry with little to no rainfall. Solar radiation is very high. If you're re-travelling to these areas, you need to be well prepared. Plenty of water, high SPF sunscreen, appropriate clothing, and a solid understanding of the conditions you're facing. The Outback is beautiful, but it's also unforgiving. Don't underestimate it. So what does all this mean practically? Let's talk about what you should be doing based on where you are and what conditions you are facing. If you're in the eastern states, New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, keep an umbrella handy. The chance of showers and storms is significant. Don't get caught out. It might be sunny right now, but that can change quickly. Across all areas experiencing high temperatures, stay well hydrated. I am talking about you blokes in Perth, Adelaide, inland New South Wales, Queensland, and particularly those in Central Australia. Drink water before you feel thirsty. By the time you thirsty, you already behind. Use high SPF sunscreen. 50 plus is ideal. The UV index is extreme across most of Australia right now. You can get burnt in 15 minutes without protection. Slip on a shirt, slop on sunscreen, slap on a hat. You've heard it 1,000 times, but it matters. Limit outdoor activities during the middle of the day. If you're working outside, take regular breaks in the shade. If you're exercising, do it early morning or late evening, not during peak heat. For those in bushfire-prone areas, monitor the warnings. We're in the middle of summer, and while we haven't seen catastrophic conditions this particular weekend, the fire danger is always present this time of year. Know your fire plan, know your trigger to leave. If you're in a high-risk area and conditions deteriorate, leaving early is always the safest option. Check on elderly neighbours and mates. The heat affects older people more severely. A quick phone call or knock on the door can make a real difference. If you've got livestock, make sure they have access to water and shade. Stock losses in extreme heat are preventable with proper management. For those planning water activities, whether it's the beach, boating or fishing, check local conditions. The winds along the New South Wales coast are brisk. The surf can be dangerous. The thunderstorms across Queensland can develop quickly. Use common sense and check the forecast before heading out. In Darwin and the tropical north, be storm aware. Those afternoon thunderstorms can bring damaging winds, heavy rain and lightning. Secure loose items around your property. If you're recamping, make sure your tent is properly secured and you're not under large trees. Looking ahead to the next few days, conditions aren't changing dramatically. We're in a relatively stable pattern. The high pressure system over the eastern states will gradually move east, which might bring slightly cooler conditions to New South Wales and Victoria early next week. Queensland will continue with the hot, humid, stormy pattern. That just summer in Queensland. Perth and Adelaide will maintain the dry, sunny conditions. No significant change expected there. Tasmania will stay mild and pleasant. Darwin will continue with the wet season pattern. The one thing to watch in the coming week is potential heat building across inland areas. Some of the long-range models are suggesting temperatures could push even higher across Central Australia and inland Western Australia. We're talking potential for temperatures in the mid-40s in some locations. That still several days away, and there is uncertainty in the exact timing and intensity, but it's worth keeping an eye on. If you're replanning travel through inland areas next week, monitor the forecast closely. For now, this evening and tomorrow, conditions are as IV outlined. Typical late January summer weather across Australia with significant regional variation. The Bureau of Meteorology has all the detailed forecasts and warnings on their website. If you need specific information for your area, that's your best source. They update regularly, and if severe weather develops, they'll issue warnings promptly. The key takeaway from all of this is simple. It's summer in Australia. That means heat, humidity in the north and east, dry conditions in the south and west, and the potential for severe weather in various forms depending on where you are. Be prepared, use common sense, look after yourself and others, and respect the conditions. This isn't anything we haven't seen before, but that doesn't mean it should be taken lightly. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and keep an eye on the forecast. Conditions can change, particularly with thunderstorm development. What looks clear now can turn stormy within an hour during summer. That's the forecast for the evening of Saturday, 25th of January, 2026. I'll continue monitoring the situation and bring you updates as conditions develop.